today we're going to have a look at this pen, which I must say has grown enormously on me. I loved it the first time I saw it, but I am really enjoying this pen. Here we have the Leonardo Furore in the very, very pretty Smeraldo finish. Now this is a seriously stunning material, and that's why I keep slowly rotating it. Etc. Beautiful pen. Leonardo started out with the Momento Zero model, and then they came out with the Furore model, which is a more an ogiva shaped pen. And make no mistake, an ogive is actually a shape. I'm not trying to rip off the name of the famous Omas pens. So rounded off ends like this, okay? I think it is very, very attractive. I think this is a lovely pen. I think it's a comfortable pen, and I shall do everything in my powers to influence you and make you want to buy this pen, because that's what I do. So I'm going to cover I'm going to cover the parts of the pen, and then I shall do a writing sample, and then I shall tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, so here we go with the Leonardo Furore. And what makes the Furore so interesting? Well, I have never really been an enormous fan of flat top pens, and I realize this is not a fully flat top, but it's a flat-ish top on the Leonardo Momento Zero. And now we have a pen with beautiful rounded ends, which I personally, and that is of course a personal opinion, I prefer to a flatter pen. And you see the pen right next to a Lamy Safari. You can see it's a little longer, but it's about the same width, I would say, about, maybe a little fatter. Okay, so the Furore. Let's cover the parts of the pen. In this case, there are several beautiful finishes available. This is the Smeraldo finish. Now just look what happens when I rotate that. That is, in my mind, absolutely gorgeous. And it was named after a grotto. And it's stunning. This is seawater hit by the sun. Beautiful. I really love that. So, top of the pen, you have this beautiful ogiva shape, which I think is very nice. On top, it's all the same material, no weird pieces. I love that. You have the clip. The clip is rather stiff, but has a wheel, which works well. Then we have two rings. The barrel ever so slightly tapers down until this nice little tip there, and then you have a blind cap which comes off, and then there is access to the cartridge converter right here. So that is not a real piston, it is a cartridge converter, which you can very clearly see in a second. The cap unscrews, and if you want to know, it's about one turn. And then you have this section, interesting shape, but I find it very comfortable. This pen was sent to me by Salvatore with a gold nib, and I particularly requested that, not because I'm a snob. I found the steel nibs from Leonardo to be wonderful. It's just that he sent me this pen at the same time, which has a steel stub, so I said, well, it might be fun to compare your steel and gold stubs so you can see them side by side. I think the viewers would find that interesting. I could be wrong. If you find that interesting, let me know. I can record that video. So this is the 14 karat gold stub. Interestingly enough, this is a 1.3mm stub, whereas the steel stub is 1.5mm. Small difference, but there is a difference. The nib is laser engraved with Leonardo, Italy, and says 14K585, and it has an ABS feed. As I promised, there is the cartridge converter, nice and fancy, with a little laser engraving of the Leonardo name and logo there, which I think is quite nice. Very lovely pen, in my mind, a nice size. If it is not big enough for you, then you can actually post it comfortably. It works very, very well, then you have a nicely sized pen. The section, yes, it's an odd shape, but in my mind it works very well. It's very comfortable to hold. So I think what we need to do is write with the pen and show you what that is like. So, here we go with the Leonardo Furore Smeraldo 14K. Stub nib, and the ink is the perfect Visconti turquoise. You know what? Here, turquoise. Let's make it incomprehensible. Now, that was probably louder than I intended it to be. I'm sorry. I found initially that I had to push down on this nib a little bit to make it right. So right now I'm writing with absolutely no pressure, and you can see there is a tiny bit of skipping. So this nib in my mind would require a little bit of tuning to make it a little bit wetter, because I think for my personal use this is a little bit too dry. Of course that's also a function of the ink, but I don't think Visconti turquoise is a particularly dry ink. So I find it a little on the dry side. I had that same feeling with the gold nib that was on the celluloid Momento Zero that I reviewed a few months ago. With a little bit of pressure, it works fine. So I don't think it has baby's bottom, because it actually starts up pretty well. I think it's just a bit too dry. And that is something we can fix. But, you know, you would have to do that. You see a tiny bit of skipping here and there, right? Now, as to its wetness, this is with minimal pressure. Nice, nicely tuned, not a gusher, but that's exactly what I just said. I think it is a little on the dry side. It is gold. You could squeeze it a little bit. I would be very careful in doing so. You also don't really have to, because of the shape of the nib, you have natural line variation anyway, right? So, okay. What about reverse writing? Yeah, with a stub that's not really successful. It is very smooth, I will say that, and it does seem to be a little finer than the proper way around. So there is that. Okay, I have the feeling that this ink shows up very light on the page, doesn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Let's see what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Okay, what do I like, what do I not like about the Leonardo Officina Italiana Furore in the Smeraldo finish? Well, the finish is stunning. I can't say anything else but that about this material. I absolutely love it. As I said, I'm not a huge fan of flat tops, so for me it's great that there is a Furore model now with rounded off ends in this lineup of pens. I think that is great. I think the price is really not bad. It's 145 euros and 90 cents. That is on the Casa della Stilografica website in Florence. That's 178 euros with that. Bear in mind that is a steel nib. I'm sure a gold nib upgrade like this has is extra, but I'm sorry, I couldn't find the price. Email Marco and I'm sure he will tell you what it would be. Nib lineup is broad, extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and 1.5mm steel nibs, and then extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and 1.3mm 14-karat gold nibs. So you have a lot of options to pick from, which I think is quite amazing. Design-wise, I love the blind cap. I realize this is just a converter, but if you would operate it by turning this end and you have the pen posted, I've had this happen in the past, you accidentally take the cap off by unscrewing, then you can operate this and ink can flow out of the nib, which can lead to embarrassing spillage. So I'm very happy that's the blind cap. It's a classic design element in fountain pens, and I think it's there for a reason, and it works really well. Things I don't like so much. Yeah, not that much. The one thing I would say is maybe this particular gold nib is a little on the dry side. I would have to test it with a whole range of inks, but the one I put in it is not super dry. And I had that with the celluloid, which one was that called again? The Abyss, I think. The celluloid Leonardo I had also had a slightly dry gold nib, whereas the steel nibs are much wetter. So that's interesting. I think they're Bock nibs, ABS feed, by all means, it's usable. I have seen nibs that were unusable. This is by no means unusable. It's just maybe a little drier. Having said that, yeah, I'm pretty in love with this pen and this material. So I think it is really, really cool. I cannot thank Salvatore enough for sending me one very, we call that, graciously to review on. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye.